Okay, Coach Orlando, good morning. Thanks for joining us. We have you, Palaie, Gaoteote, and Isaiah Pola-Mao with us. Coach, it's been a couple of weeks since we've seen you. Give us a little update on how your defense has gone through camp and expectations for this week.
Well, I think we're all very excited to get going. It's been a long road, and camp was good. I mean, I think probably the biggest thing that, just from doing this a decent amount of times is, a little bit different because not as hot as it usually is in August. So, but we had a stretch of time where we really challenged the guys, the physicality part. And I think my own personal opinion, they've done an outstanding job of embracing what we want to try to get accomplished. And like I said, a few days before the game, we're ready to go.
Good. Okay, we will take questions from the group here. Please raise your hand. Keep yourself on mute until I call on you, and I'll wait for people to raise their hand. Start with Ryan Abraham.
Good morning, Coach. This is a weird question. The job of a defense is to stop another team from scoring. But in your philosophy, how important is to also, limit the field position and the time of possession an opponent's offense has? Is it more just about stopping from scoring, or trying to get the ball back earlier at better field position for the offense also part of
that? A little bit of both. I think in today's game, turnovers are very important. Third down efficiency is very important. So if you can set up your offense and in spots where, they have to have a handful of first downs and be in scoring position always helps. But I don't think collectively you ever go into it saying that's probably more situational end of half, end of games that you start thinking that way. But, when you're game planning and doing stuff like that, there's not much thought on it. Sometimes as a play caller, you'll understand a little bit of momentum, or you'll understand, situations where you might call something different because of the kind of the feel of the game. I know I've done that personally, or if we just needed a spark, we'll do it. But overall, collectively, probably not as much as sitting down trying to get too analytical with the game and letting the guys play.
And for Ian, real quick, your position coach is now the defensive coordinator. How different has that been for you, and how's your game kind of grown over the past few months?
It's just grown a lot. Just like Coach said, he's just been challenging us as a defense. Just trying to be aggressive and, just trying to get better every day.
Okay, we'll go to Ryan Young.
Todd, what area of the defense do you feel is the most ready for Saturday? What group is showing you the most this preseason?
I hope they all are, to be honest with you. So, but to me, the group since I've gotten here that has been exceptional in terms of doing everything, whether it's, on the field, off the field, has been the safety unit. Been really impressed with that. And, but, everybody has collectively gotten a little bit better, throughout camp. You don't have spring football, so you lose a little bit in terms of figuring out who can play and who can't play. So you kind of reserve judgment. Then you go through. My biggest thing was, I know when I first talked to you guys was, give me a couple of weeks to figure out who's going to tap out when we do really hard stuff. And that's all I was looking for to see when it got really hard, because to me that measures a person, not the easy stuff. Everybody's great when they're front running, but when it got difficult, which group were you concerned about? And then there's not a group that we're concerned about. I love our approach, and I think since the day I've gotten here, it was like, okay, let's do this. Let's see what you're talking about. And then when you got out of the back end of those 2 weeks of us, taking live reps almost every other day, scrimmaging multiple times. And, I don't sit here and say to myself like, oh, I'm concerned about that group. Everybody has collectively gotten better, but the group that's always impressed me, since I've gotten here has been the safety position.
And then we've heard Coach Helton say a few times that you've taken EA's game to another level. What was your initial, assessment of the player you were getting with him, and then what have you tried to hone in on to maximize with his game and his potential?
Well, I think, I know you're in this room and I hate when people like talk third person and all that stuff, but it's the player's decision, you know, when you have talent, you know, because I'm going to go in there and I'm going to coach as hard as I can every day. It's the expectation internally by me, but also it's your commitment to the players. And, you know, you can't ask somebody to be on their game and do all this stuff if, you know, you're cutting corners as a coach, if you're not giving maximum effort to everybody. So usually what ends up happening is you go into it and, you know, and I coach the same way. It doesn't matter whether it's EA or a guy that's maybe on the look team, but it's that person's decision. I have really nothing to do. I've probably failed more than I've succeeded in terms of, you know, coaching this. But when you see a guy that's very talented and you can just, the thing about it is I've been him, not as talented as him, but I've gone through that position my whole life and I've coached it my whole life. So there's little things that I think at the end of the day can make somebody better. Then I want to share those experiences with them. But really at the end of the day, it was, you know, he's, you know, run to the football as hard as you can. He's doing that on his own, not because I'm saying it. I think it's just when it finally clicks in to say, you know what, I can be really good. And it's the player, you know, and there's a lot of things that are behind the scenes with it. Trust me, you know, there's, you know, you're going to butt heads a little bit. There's going to be some hard love. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it. But eventually when you go out in the field and you say like, you know what, man, I can't be this dude. And that's the player himself, not the coach.
Thanks.
Let me follow up with Isaiah. Can you comment on Coach's comments about the safety position and how, you know, you guys have been doing everything right? What's involved with that?
Yes. Honestly, I could just say like just stepping up to the challenge and then like just being who we are. Like we want to be the heart and soul of this team, and it all lands on us. You know, this defense isn't going to work without our communication and without our leadership. So I think it was a challenge to us, and we stepped up to the plate.
Thank you. Next up is Eric McKinney.
Coach, you've had a few, you know, taking over a defense and trying to get things done quickly. I'm assuming you've never had an off season quite like this one while trying to do that. Where are you at right now? How has that affected you compared to maybe where you would be at some of those other stops leading up to that first game?
Well, honestly, with the exception of not watching people run and hit and doing some of the fundamental stuff that you need to run and hit, I mean, meetings are meetings. I mean, so that really hasn't changed. In actuality, we've had more time because, you know, you only get X amount of time in spring football. Then we go on the road recruiting. So it's not like we're running back doing meetings with our players during the spring. And then the summertime comes along and we're running around the camp circuit. Then we really give the guys off in July and then we come back. So from actually teaching the defense, it's actually been very beneficial for us. It's just the thing that hurt us was going in there and teaching practice habits and teaching the things that you need to defeat a block, to tackle somebody, to do those things. So that was probably the urgency when we first got the pads on, was like, we need to do this as much as humanly possible because this takes some time. We're not going to try to figure out how to do this on Saturday. So outside of that, the actual mental approach, we've actually gained time off of that, but just the physical approach of how we want to go about the physicality part of it was different when we had to make up for it during that 2-week stretch at camp.
And then for the players, Isaiah first, and then EA, you guys didn't get Jaden Daniels last year. What are you looking forward to that challenge, and what does he bring to stress a defense?
You know, he's a great player, and we look forward to just always getting the opportunity to go up against another great player. But honestly, it changes nothing for us. It doesn't matter who steps on the field. We're always going to play the way we play, and that's just running with fanatical effort and running and hitting somebody.
EA, do you want to?
That's where you jump in.
Yeah, I got you. Kind of like what Zay said. Jaden, he's a great competitor, great player. Just us as a defense, we're just excited to compete and just run out and just do what we got to do.
Okay, we'll go to Adam Grossbard.
Isaiah and EA, thanks for doing this morning. Defense relies so much on energy, and you're going to be playing in an empty Coliseum on Saturday. What are the conversations among the defense about how to generate some juice for your teammates?
It's really just playing together, like doing it for your brothers, doing it for one another. Like people on the sideline, like they have to bring more of the juice, and even more on the field, we have to bring more juice too. So it's it's going to be tough without the crowd behind us, but we can create that same amount of energy with ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, Zay said it all. Just being as one team. Definitely the sideline got to bring a lot of the energy as well as us on the field. But definitely that's just something we've been working on. And, I'm just excited to play, and we're excited to play. So I think juice won't be a problem.
And Todd, what has stood out to you from just looking at the Zach Hill's film at Boise and Jaden's film from last year?
Yeah, well, we're all in anticipation of a whole bunch of shift trades and motions. We know it's a big part of what they've done at Boise. And in the beginning of games are always, as a coordinator, especially offensively, usually come in with, 10 or 11 plays that are scripted that you actually work on them. They've been working on them probably since Friday, and, you get 5 or 6 days into them. So they're going to be really, really crisp and sharp, and they're going to script them out. And, so it can be a little bit difficult to simulate that speed from a look team. So that's what we anticipate early in the game, trying to get us moving around and not having our feet set in the ground. So that's going to be important. And Jaden's he can extend plays. He can make all the throws. We've studied him quite a bit. He steps up in the pocket, willing to take hits, and he's smart with the football. So he's a good player.
Okay, Ryan Young, you're up.
For EA, what's different than what this defense asked of you versus what you were doing in the previous system?
I think it's just a lot of mentality stuff that we have. It's a lot of things, like Coach said, just running and hitting, just flying around. And a lot of it's just the communication part and just being on one level and just having all levels clicking and just being a unit and the whole defense as a whole.
And then entering your third season, what do you feel is left for you to show or to prove, or what's kind of your mindset entering this third year?
I think I still got a lot to prove. Definitely that's just what I go out with, the mentality to just keep working hard. That's just what coach preaches, to practice hard. So definitely just have a lot to prove and just excited to compete and excited to get out there.
Okay, we'll go to Shotgun.
Hey, Todd, did you feel you got enough opportunities to kind of evaluate your defensive personnel at full speed, or we still kind of be filling it out on Saturday?
No, I think we've had plenty of time to take a look. We've taken enough live reps to evaluate them and see where they're at. And then collectively, I think it's important as we meet with staffs, because I'm meeting with the linebackers, but we sit down quite a bit and we review where they are at in the meeting. So all that stuff where, sometimes the guy's out there and he makes some plays, but at the end of the day, the positional coach is like, we need to button this guy up a little bit more. He's, he doesn't know everything that we need to know. So we're in constant communication with each other as a defensive staff to make sure that, what you see on practice film is what we all see, watching guys run around and do that. But the mental part of where everybody's at is what we discuss. So we've seen enough. There's a lot of some of the probably inexperienced guys and guys that are newer to the program that are going to continue to get better. But, in this situation where it's kind of a free year, we're going to put them out there and we're going to let them play.
And then you talked about the safety group kind of being the group. What is it about that group that stood out to put them above the rest of the groups, I guess?
Well, I don't, like I said before, and you told me to rank them. So, but the group itself is very mature. They have a lot of they've got a lot of experience. So what ends up happening, and I said this to Zay, it was like outside of a practice one day, and I was like, the best thing you guys can do for us is take some of these guys that don't have a lot of game reps underneath their belt and just talk to them, encourage them, just find 5 minutes to love, show them some love, to tell them that they're, this is going to be hard, because when you have played a lot, the game is a lot slower for you. So instead of processing, what my assignment is and all this stuff, all you're thinking about is just putting your foot in the ground and running as hard as you can. And then when the play's over with, you're not cluttered with stuff. So because you have experience, so you're able to talk. Like Zay's great, Tally's great. You got that room that will encourage people because it's not overwhelming to them. So it's a combination of having experience. And I will give these guys a ton of credit, because during this stretch of 7 months, they picked up this package really, really well. Nive and those guys worked hand in hand to get this thing down. So when you have it down, you can play fast. And when you have it down and you're in a position that's behind everybody else, you can kind of, you can get these guys lined up and over communicate and settle a lot of people in. So that's what's been so impressive about it but I think it just all goes back to experience.
Okay, Keely.
Hey, Todd, when it comes to Drake Jackson, what has it been like for you this camp, managing his injury, but also projecting him in your defense? And what do you expect from him on Saturday?
Well, I give Russ and their staff a lot of credit, because, Drake's fine. But, 2 weeks ago, whatever, when all this stuff shook out, he was chomping at the bit to get back out in the football field. And those guys did a really, really good job with him. And to me, it's the mental part of it. So you spend a massive amount of time with a guy, and you can sit behind somebody and get reps and do that. And it's not that hard. So that was a really good job by our training staff to get that thing settled in and be smart with him. But he's ready to go.
Okay, Mark Culkin.
First question is for the players. In a couple sentences, can you describe Coach Orlando the best? How would you describe him in a couple sentences?
Very nice guy.
First thing I would say is just energetic. First time he stepped on the field, he was screaming, yelling, just running around. But he's definitely helped us mentally stay focused and just to see the bigger picture of the defense, not just learning our position, but knowing why we do a certain thing.
Yeah.
I would describe Coach Orlando as a straight shooter. One of the biggest things he preaches is honesty. And ever since he's been here, he's been nothing but honest to us. And that's just been what drives us to just get better for him.
And then, Coach, we know the ultimate goal for the defense and for the team is just to win. But have you set any personal goals for each of these guys to maybe, I don't know, be a little more selfish to help the team? Is that a good way of putting it?
Be a little bit selfish to help the team. To me, we're collectively, like I tell her, it's a brotherhood, and everybody's got their role in this thing. And, depending on how games shake out and how talented guys are, and the expectation of, especially the guys that are on this Zoom right now, is to do things that are uncommon, to be honest with you. So I don't necessarily think that EA is going to run out of a gap or Zay's going to run someplace else and not cover his guy to try to get an interception. I think that's probably, when Zay talked earlier, is just about staying together, and collectively understanding what we're trying to get accomplished, and everybody doing their, 1/11th of the scheme itself. So I think you just fall into a little bit of trouble when guys start to go outside the system, and what ends up happening is it ends up hurting other people behind them most of the time. And if you're behind, it really hurts us because you end up giving up touchdowns. So we're trying to collectively understand that, but in the same aspect of it is a guy that's play calling, is you got to be mindful of your heavy hitters and your dudes to make sure that you're giving them every opportunity to make plays too.
Thank you.
Go to Eric McKinney.
Coach, what have you seen from Raylan Goforth, kind of from your first impression of him and then his growth all the way to now?
Yeah, Ray's a pro now. I mean, to me, it's the way he approaches the game. I took a photo and sent it to the linebacker group, and because I usually go down to our meeting rooms pretty early, and on his desk where he sits, his playbook was open. The Arizona State 2 deep was right next to him, and his iPad was open with watching cut-ups, and it's I love the way he approaches everything. He's very prideful about, when he makes mistakes or he's not, sharp in terms of doing stuff, and that gives him every, he works his tail off. I'm really, really proud of Ray. I really am. And, and we'll see how he does on Saturday. And, but there's, these guys in that room, he's one of the harder workers that we have.
And yeah, playing next to him, and then Kanai too. What's been that relationship like? How are you guys kind of handling things together there in the middle?
Kind of like what coaches preach, just having that brother mentality. Playing next to both of them, they're both tremendous athletes, both hard workers. But just playing next to them, I just know they're my brother. They always have my back, and then just because I know that, I always have their back. So I mean, definitely we have a good relationship with both of those guys.
Ryan Young.
Todd, what kind of balance do you expect between Raylan and Kanai at that spot?
It depends. We'll see how we finish out the week. Right now, without getting the specifics, because that will be released on Friday, we'll see how it plays out. But, Kanai has a lot of experience. He's a guy that, we feel comfortable with. So we'll see how this thing plays out on Saturday. And that'll be based on who's running hot and who's running not. And, maybe the pace, which I don't know. I think we'll see. I think we'll see a little bit of gas pushed on us a little bit at times, but it depends really on the amount of plays that we see on Saturday.
And then with Drake, you got to at least see him in the spring. He came back, looks like 20 pounds lighter this summer. How does that kind of affect his role? And what was your reaction when you saw him come back from him?
No, it's not. I mean, to me, he was 270 last year, which was way too heavy for him, me personally. He's much more explosive now. And he's still physical. So, I mean, in today's game, depending on who you're going up against, but to me, it's a judgment of strength. I've seen guys that, they need to be 270 to be able to bench press, 370. And I've seen guys that are whatever be able to bench press 370 too. So it's about strength, but more importantly in today's game defensively, it's having speed all around, because eventually you're going to miss a tackle. Eventually somebody's going to put you in space and you need to reel in yards. So the faster you are, the better opportunity you have of not giving up, huge plays. So a play that's, that you give up that's 20 yards that now turns into 6 yards because you're a faster defense. I think that's kind of today's game and the way you approach it. Not a concern.
Okay, that's all the questions we have for today. Thanks everybody for joining us, coach and the players. Great job. We appreciate your time. A reminder to the media that tomorrow morning at 8, we'll have Coach Helton back with us. So until then, enjoy the day.
Thank you, guys.